When you attend a classical concert, you often glance at the program, curious about who is performing and which pieces will fill the air. For André Rieu, the world-renowned violinist and beloved king of the waltz, the story began far differently. Inside a home where music thrummed, but warmth was scarce. Born on October 1st, 1949, in the Dutch city of Maastricht, a place still echoing with the shadows of a recent war, André grew up under the strict discipline of a father, who was a celebrated conductor, and the meticulous order of a mother whose affection was measured, not freely given. The boy learned early that silence could be as loud as any orchestra, and that approval, though present, was a substitute for the emotional connection he craved. In this environment, André discovered the violin at age 6, and it became more than an instrument. It was a friend, a voice, a lifeline. The notes he coaxed from wooden strings filled spaces his childhood could not, offering warmth where tenderness had been absent. Long hours practicing alone cultivated a talent that would one day sweep across the world, but they also planted seeds of pressure and exhaustion that would follow him through life. The early struggle for expression. By the late 1960s, André entered the Royal Conservatory of Brussels, hopeful for inspiration, but confronted instead with an atmosphere of intense competition and cold professionalism. Creativity was often overlooked, and passion was dismissed in favor of precision. Some teachers mocked his desire to bring joy and connection to classical music, seeing it as frivolous or unrealistic. Yet André clung to that vision secretly, nurturing a dream of concerts filled not just with technical brilliance, but with laughter, warmth, and human connection. This vision, though fragile in the face of criticism, became the core of his identity as a musician. His early years were shaped by a duality: the ache of wanting to be heard, and the exhilaration of discovering that music could give him a voice where words had failed. The Maastricht Salon Orchestra. In 1978, with no financial cushion and little familial encouragement, André made a daring move. In a modest rehearsal space in Maastricht, he founded the Maastricht Salon Orchestra, gathering musicians who shared his belief in the healing power of music. Audiences were small, rooms were intimate, but the energy was extraordinary. Laughter mingled with melody, and in those spaces, André experienced the first taste of musical freedom. By his side was Marguerite, a woman whose belief in him matched his own, even when others doubted. Their love became a quiet rebellion against the expectations of family and society. And though it cost André a connection to his childhood home, it offered him the space to create, to breathe, and to blossom into the man who would one day captivate millions. Music was not just performance, it was survival, healing, and transformation, transforming struggle into art. André never claimed to have healed completely. Instead, he learned to convert silence into song, pain into melody, and rejection into beauty. Each note became a testament to endurance, and each performance carried the invisible weight of his journey. By the late 1980s, in small rehearsal rooms and modest concert halls, he refined his craft, gripping his violin as if it were both anchor and lifeline. His path was not linear. It was a delicate, precarious waltz, advancing with hope and retreating in exhaustion. In 1987, at the age of 38, he founded the Johann Strauss Orchestra with just 12 members. Defying critics who deemed his ambitions reckless, he envisioned music that was alive, joyous, and accessible, a stark contrast to the formal rigidity dominating classical circles. The early years were punishing: financial uncertainty, grueling travel, and endless nights of practice. But André remained steadfast, counting coins under dim lamps, sacrificing meals, and enduring pain so his orchestra could thrive. Applause became both reward and lifeline, every cheer a breath of air after near drowning in the pressures of survival. breaking through. Gradually, André's perseverance bore fruit. Audiences responded not only to skill, but to the humanity infused in every note. By 1995, a performance at a UEFA Champions League match propelled him to international stardom. Tens of thousands were stunned by the power of his waltzes, and suddenly, the violinist who had struggled quietly for decades became a household name. Yet fame brought new pressures: constant travel, endless performances, and the weight of managing an ever-growing musical enterprise. Airports and hotels became second homes, rehearsals became heartbeat, and the public saw the sparkle and charisma, but not the exhaustion behind the smile. His life, once solitary and private, now unfolded under the scrutiny of thousands, and the man who had turned personal struggle into art had to navigate new forms of challenge, expectation, responsibility, and the sheer physical toll of decades of performance. The cost of leadership. By the late 1990s, André had built an independent musical empire in mastery, overseeing every detail from recording to logistics. He protected his orchestra like a family, ensuring housing, food, and care for every member. Yet the responsibility weighed heavily. Sleep was scarce, tours were relentless, and even the smallest decisions felt monumental. His devotion was both shield and burden, a testament to a man whose love for music intertwined with his sense of duty to those around him. In 2009, exhaustion and unforeseen cancellations brought financial strain, yet he remained committed to protecting his musicians and maintaining the orchestra's integrity. Nights of sleepless vigilance and days of physical strain became routine, but he persisted, understanding that music, like life, required resilience. Instruments of memory. Among the treasures that define André's life are his centuries-old violins and the 15th century castle he calls home. These objects are more than possessions. They are repositories of memory, resilience, and creativity. The castle, restored meticulously over decades, became both sanctuary and studio, a place where silence healed rather than haunted. In its conservatories, gardens, and recording rooms, André found the space to explore music at his own pace, away from the relentless demands of touring. Each violin carried a history of performance, travel, and devotion, a tangible connection to the generations of music that had shaped him. These spaces and instruments remind him, and those who know his story, that creativity flourishes where care and patience are present. The pandemic and new challenges. In 2020, the global pandemic brought the applause to a halt. Concerts disappeared, musicians faced empty schedules, and uncertainty loomed large. André navigated this period with careful devotion, ensuring his orchestra remained intact, even if it meant selling personal possessions or tightening budgets. The quiet absence of audiences highlighted the fragility of human connection, yet it also offered a space for reflection and rebuilding. The Stradivarius he had traveled with for decades remained a symbol of constancy, a reminder that music endures even when the world pauses. Through isolation and uncertainty, André demonstrated the perseverance that had defined his life, the ability to transform challenge into creativity, fear into music, and silence into resilience. Personal loss and silent tributes. Even as he continued to perform, life tested André in other ways. In 2016, the sudden loss of his closest friend and trombonist, Ruud Max, cast a shadow over his performances. Though he continued to play, André introduced small pauses during each piece, silent tributes that acknowledged absence and grief without words. Music became a medium for memory, a way to honor those who shaped his journey while continuing to give joy to audiences worldwide. The personal and professional intertwined seamlessly. Every note carried both beauty and the weight of lived experience. Recovery and resilience. Health challenges, including a virus affecting his balance, added to the complexity of his later years. Yet André refused to surrender, slowly rebuilding strength and technique in fragments. Practice became negotiation with time, each phrase a testament to persistence. Support from Marguerite, his wife, and Pierre, his son, provided stability and guidance. Their presence allowed André to navigate the physical and emotional demands of performance, highlighting the unseen layers behind his public triumphs. In these moments, music was not just performance, it was recovery, therapy, and connection, a lifeline extending beyond the stage, family, legacy, and renewal. André's family played a critical role in sustaining both his music and spirit. Pierre now helps manage logistics and ensures André rests when needed, while Daisy, his granddaughter, brings spontaneity and joy into spaces once dominated by discipline. These familial connections provide balance, grounding him in the human moments beyond applause and accolades. Within his castle, André cultivates a life of gentler rhythms. Morning walks, herbal teas, long hours in the studio, and evenings filled with laughter. Music remains central, but it is no longer a demand. It is an extension of life, enriched by reflection and care. Music as endurance. Even at 76, André Rieu continues to create and perform with a depth born of experience. Each waltz carries layers of history, struggle, and triumph, resonating with audiences who sense the humanity beneath the performance. His legacy is not defined by fortune or fame, but by the countless hearts steadied, comforted, and inspired by his music. In every performance, there is evidence of perseverance, creativity, and the enduring power of art to transform personal and collective hardship into beauty. A life in harmony. André's story demonstrates the intersection of talent, discipline, and resilience. From the silent, strict halls of his childhood to the grand stages of the world, he has navigated loss, illness, and the weight of leadership while remaining dedicated to his vision. The violins, the castle, the orchestra, they are all testaments to a life shaped by devotion, struggle, and the unwavering pursuit of joy through music. Through every challenge, André has shown that greatness is not only measured by applause, but by the ability to endure, rebuild, and continue creating. Conclusion: the music that refuses to fade. André Rieu's life is a testament to the transformative power of music and the strength of the human spirit. The applause may fade and stages may empty, but the legacy of a lifetime devoted to art endures. Each waltz carries memory, hope, and the triumph of persistence. Even as he walks through the sunlit corridors of his castle, the sound of strings, laughter, and quiet reflection demonstrates that music is not simply performance, it is life itself. In the end, André Rieu's story reminds us that no matter the hardships, the heart behind the music continues to dance, resilient, enduring, and full of beauty.